everybody, my name is Lindsay. I'm from the Craft Studio in NYC, and I'm so excited to be here in partnership with Mattel Playroom to bring you these fun summer, easy to do, but such a cool wow factor crafts that you could do at home and almost create your own summer camp centered around some of your favorite toys. And one of my favorite toys of all time are Barbies. I love playing with them as a kid. I love playing them with my own daughters as an adult. And who doesn't love making their own accessories for your Barbies? There's nothing more fun than a cool whip or ride or car for your Barbie. And we're gonna show you how to make this awesome convertible out of, let me pop out our wheels, out of a cereal box. So we're recycling or upcycling, we should say. And it's so creative and cool. It even has a Barbie Forever license plate and some cool tail lights and headlights and wheels, and our color reveal taco Barbie loves her cool ride. So let's gather our materials. I'm going to show you a really cool technique how to tie-dye the outside of your car. So we have a lot of materials, but they're all easy to find. You need dish soap, a cup of milk, food coloring, Q-tips, school glue, scissors, computer paper, black construction paper, or you can just color paper black, white paper black, a couple pieces of orange and yellow construction paper or colored paper strips. You need like a marker that shows up permanently, which littles, make sure you ask a grown-up for help. This is just to help you outline where you're gonna cut on the cereal box. Some aluminum foil for a windshield, Barbies of course, and the star of the show is a recycled cereal box. So gather all those materials and let's start crafting. All right, so I have my marker that I know will show up, and it's a permanent marker, which you can use a washable if kids are doing this without a grown-up. But I just wanna make sure I'm able to see this because this is gonna help me guide myself into where I'm gonna make the cuts for our Barbie convertible. So it's all about shapes, right? So the first shape I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like a rectangle, because this is gonna be the windshield that we're gonna cut out. But we're not gonna do our last line. So I guess it's like 3/4 of a rectangle because it's 3 lines. It's one of the long ones and both short ones. And then we're gonna not do this last long line because we're gonna cut, so it's like a flap that stays open. And that way it'll be the windshield of the convertible. Then the next one we're gonna do is a square. We're gonna cut out a square so Barbie can have a place to sit. We're gonna like squeeze her in there. So that way she's got her own little seat and she's not wiggling around, and when we play, she doesn't fall out. So we've done a square. So we have half a rectangle on this side and a square right below one of the sides of the windshield or the rectangle. Then on the other side, right near the edge, I'm gonna draw 4 half circles. This way, we will have 4 wheels that can pop out. And then it's easy to store the card too because they fold back in. So I've drawn 1, 2, 3, 4 half circles. On this side, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the other side, I have my 3/4 of a rectangle, the long line and the 2 short, leaving the last line not colored in because I'm not gonna cut it all the way. I'm gonna make a flap. And I use my top of my box as a guide. This is the front of the car, so we want the windshield to flap up that way. And then right underneath, I did a square because that's where we're gonna stick the Barbie in. Now, what I did was I had a grown-up help me poke some holes along the lines of where I'm gonna cut, which is gonna make it easier to cut it out. It's a little tricky, but a grown-up will help you. And then, again, our littles might need some help, but then we can just go ahead and cut along all of the lines. Doing my windshield. And kid scissors actually work the best with this. And I've pre-done a few holes with like a tack, which is dangerous for kids, but grown-ups, if you do it, it'll help the process. And then it was super easy for me to cut. And I'm gonna now kind of fold up our windshield. It's coming together. Next I'm gonna cut out the square, and this is again where Barbie is gonna sit If you want, you could do multiple squares, which is kind of fun because then you can have a bunch of squares next to each other so more friends can ride. So there's my square. Here's my front of the car. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the back. I poked some holes ahead of time, and I'm going to cut out my 4 wheels. And again, it's just a half a circle, because when we undo them, they'll kind of stand and make it look like a real car. All right, one more, and then we'll be ready to start making it come to life. All right, there we go. Good work. Let's move on to decorating. Now that we have our box ready to rock, we're gonna get ready to decorate. So you're just gonna take basic computer paper, and I'm gonna fold down my windshield for a second. And I'm just gonna kind of use my computer paper and a marker to mark off for me where I need to trim the paper, because we're gonna do our special design cool swirl painting. But first I'm gonna trim the paper down to the exact size I need. So I've lined it up to one edge, and then I'm gonna just kind of mark where I need to trim it on the one side. And we can always make it more exact after it's done being painted. And again, remember, there is no perfect. Perfect is boring. So I'm gonna look and I see that this is where my windshield is, and I'm gonna kind of trace it, feeling where the edge of it is. It makes it easy to trace because we pre-cut it. So there's my windshield, and then my square is behind. Same thing, I can trace exactly where it is because I feel where I've made that cut. Awesome. And the same thing with the sides. You're gonna take another piece of paper and you're just gonna measure up by lining it up perfectly to one side and then kind of folding it over and making the lines to draw so you know where to cut for the other pieces. So I know I need a front and a back. And then we'll do the same thing with another piece of paper so we can do the long. The long side pieces. Okay, so I know I'm going to cut out these for the front and back. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to line it up and see, oh, it's almost the same size as the whole vertical length of the paper. So that's easy. You just know we need to go boop, 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 boop. Just follow the line. And again, don't worry if it's not perfect. And then we'll go ahead and cut out all these pieces. And for the tires, we'll use our black paper. So there's our sides. And I have a white crayon to help me be a guide for my black construction paper. So I'm going to just kind of set it on top. This is a little tricky to see, but I'll show you after. I'm just tracing. I have my thumb showing me the size, and it's okay if it's a little bit bigger, but for the wheel. I'm just taking my black construction paper, you can see it from this side, and I'm going to trace so I know exactly how big to make it. And you could do 4 of those. All right, now we're going to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to cut out my 4 tires, half circles. I'm going to go ahead and do 4 of those. Here's one just to show you. And then I'm going to cut out all of these lines that I use to pre-measure where I need my white paper to be so it lines up perfectly. I did a dotted line, so I knew that I needed to trim here. I'm going to cut out the windshield, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to fold it over so I can make a little cut, and then I'll cut it out. And then we just have our sides to cut out. And remember, if it doesn't measure up perfectly, don't worry. Perfect is boring, and there are no mistakes in art. So here's my windshield flap. Boop. And now I'm going to cut my square out, do a fold and a pretty little snip so it's easier. And then you can also go ahead and cut out your sides by following the lines you drew there. Here's one long side, and then I'll do the other, and then I'll do the 2 other short sides. Go ahead and do all your cutting, and we'll lay out all of our strips, and then we're gonna do our magic cool swirl painting to color them. All right, guys, so now that you've cut out all your strips, I have the 2 long sides of the car that'll glue on. I have the front and the back like bumper, and then I have the top with the windshield cut out and the square for the passenger. And also I have my 4 full circles. We traced the half circle, and then just to be clear, I cut out a full whole black circle, because that way I know we only cut out a half circle, but then we can glue it flush to the box so it's easy to glue on, and then it's a full tire. So we traced our half circles, but then we can continue to cut around in a full circle. Cool, so I have my 4 black circles. And then I also cut a piece of foil. And how I measured that was, I just eyeballed, I cut a rectangle, and I just kind of wanted it to be so it could fit on the frame of the windshield, leaving a little bit of the white around it. And then the only other material we needed to prep was I have a strip of orange and yellow construction paper, and I'm gonna rip both of them in half, and then I'm just kind of gonna crunch them together and twist them. Oh, actually, sorry, we have 4. We have 2 headlights and 2 tail lights. So you're gonna rip this in half again, and then crunch them together, and we'll glue them on so it looks like little headlights and tail lights. So I started with 1 long strip that I ripped into 4s, and then I just folded them in together, and they're gonna be our little lights. Now, let's get ready for our amazing swirl painting. And this is where you need that milk, which seemed a little bit silly, and the dish soap and the food coloring. And I forgot to mention you need a tray, and this was sitting in front of me the whole time. How silly. So I'm gonna pour my milk into my tray. And this is just a fun way to like design the outside of your car. If you have another idea, or you just wanna color it, but I think this is such a fun summer way to do it. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in some dots of food coloring. I'm gonna do some green. And it goes in the milk, but it doesn't spread as fast as if we did it in the water, which is cool. Here comes the blue. And then all we're gonna do with our Q-tip, and you can see the milk moving where the tray is sort of warped and bending. It's kind of funny. I'm gonna take my Q-tip, and I am going to put a little bit of dish soap on the end. And I'm gonna do it so I have some on a couple. And as soon as that milk hits the dish soap, look at what it does, guys. You just kind of randomly dot it, and it makes it like an explosion of color. How cool is that? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna dip our paper in, and make sure we're dipping it the right way. The color will go through to both sides, but I have it lined up, so I know I'm gonna dip it in this way. Cool, it's gonna make this amazing tie-dye swirl. And then since we're outside, it's gonna be awesome. The sun will dry it really quick so we can finish up our cool car. Look at how cool that's gonna look. I'm gonna set it down to dry. The sun's gonna dry it fast for me. Look how cool our paper looks. And I'm gonna do the same with all the white pieces. Woo, Barbie is gonna have one awesome ride. Go ahead and do this with all of your colors. And guys, if you wanted to do a pink car, you could do this with like red, like make a magenta with red and purple. So that's like a cool Barbie pink colored car. All right, I'm gonna let my pieces dry in the sun, and then we'll glue everything all together. All right, crafters, this is all dried. Look at how amazing it looks. I love that swirl painting, so much fun. Okay, so now I'm gonna take our box, and I'm gonna get ready with gluing everything on. So I think the easiest way is honestly to just take school glue and a paintbrush and just like kind of dot it all over. And remember, we pre-cut it, so now we've done all the hard work. Now we just get to put on our cool designs. And make sure you line it up when it's time to glue it on, so it is the windshield and the little square for our doll to sit in going the right way. And you just simply press it on the glue. And if it's not perfect, don't worry if you have a couple bubbles. This is all for fun. Perfect is boring again, my favorite thing to say. Okay, so now look, we have our windshield flap. We have Barbie's little cool seat that she can slide in, and let's glue on the windshield. Take that piece of foil you cut, and I'm gonna put down the glue first, and I'm gonna stick that on. So cool. And now I'm going to glue the sides. Putting the glue on first. Awesome. Now for our wheels, remember we cut out a full circle. So I'm going to do a little on the wheel, a little on the top. I love this project because I think the kids are so proud. You can do it in stages and then it really feels like such an accomplishment. And there's so many elements you can teach about with this color mixing and upcycling and just so cool. Using your imagination. All right, it's looking good already. Let's do our front end. One of these shorty doo-wop pieces. Boop. And then this is where you guys can sort of, I'm going to show you the side. I'm not going to make you guys watch the whole thing. This is where you can get creative. I'm going to glue on my two little headlights of our crunkled, that's a fun word, crunched up orange and yellow construction paper. And then if you have a marker like I did, I'm going to draw a little space for a license plate, and I wrote Barbie Forever on my original one. Maybe I'll do B forever. So fun. And then if you want, you can add like some grill lines. You can really get creative and go to town. And then you have your cool, awesome Barbie car. Swirl painted. What other cool accessories can you make for Barbie using this cool swirl painted technique and recycled materials? If you have an idea and you craft it, I'd love to see it. Tag us in a picture on Instagram at Craft Studio NYC and come back for more Craft Studio and Mattel Playroom awesome craft ideas. Happy summer everyone and happy crafting.